Okay, I'm going to do something a little different this time. All right, so this is A Kiss Across Time. This is book 2 in the time travel series. And what's making this book different, um, I keep comparing it to Julie McWane's Ripple in Time series. If you haven't watched my videos on those, go watch my videos on those, because those books are absolutely superb. Those Outlander is number 1, and Julie's books coming 2 so far. And this series has got a different twist to it. She's coming and going frequently. At the beginning of the book, she arrives. At the end of the book, she leaves, and she comes back to present time. And she's only been gone a week or so. And so we start. There's only a couple of characters to really. There's an outline cast, but your main fringe cast is Cassie, who is does a lot of her work online, but she's also a volunteer special constable on weekends in London, and in the outskirts anyway. And Lucian, Lord Radcliffe, his brother James, and Garrick, his manservant, who's probably got a backstory that's hidden somewhere. We don't know much of him. Those are like the household is really, really small, and there's a maid that you never see on stage. She's always off stage. They talk about it, but she's never on stage. One of my authors used to, if two characters go to lunch and you're sitting there, you're reading with them about lunch, what they're eating, what they're talking about, that's on stage. But if you're reading the book and it says, oh, me and Sally went to lunch last week, that's off stage. The action happened off stage. So she spends the first chapter with her friends in modern time, and then she gets a box delivery. Now we're going to read a little bit of this, and then we're going to read a little bit of 16, because 16 cracks me up 6 ways to Sunday. But so, I'm not sure if my time travel normally follows encounters with talking bears, but my first experience of it certainly did. The bear didn't remain significant for long, but my encounter with Lucian Franklin, Earl of Radcliffe, in 1807 could certainly be called noteworthy. I'm Cassandra Lawrence, a technical translator with a sideline volunteering as a police constable in my hometown of Wilmstead in Hertfordshire. I don't normally have much to do with earls, dead or alive, but this one managed to cope with a 21st century woman with admirable calm and a sharp intake of breath every 5 minutes or so. And she's in her modern time, and she's hanging out with her friends and stuff like that. And she's going home, and she says, I found him growling the miniature of Lucian. That's her cat. Frustrated because I'd finally managed to find a place to hang it where he couldn't swipe it off the wall. I can't decide whether he's jealous of Luke or frightened of whatever the miniature is. Probably both. He was also almost too busy being cross to eat food I put down for him, but greed won. And it's a little miniature that she bought in the antique shop when she was stopping by to hand off the list of stolen merchandise. There was thieving going around, and she was giving the owner a list of stuff to look for. And her overwhelming urge, it irked me. I understand the plot line. I understand that it's the key to all the plot lines. But her overwhelming urge and desire to have this miniature portrait that she would pay anything for, I don't know, it just irritated me so much. I also have another itsy bitsy pet peeve. And I realized that the book was not written by an American. And the only reason I say that, and I could be 100% wrong, and it's really a it's really petty to even bring it up, but it's just, it's annoying as all hell. And it's stupid. It shouldn't even bother me. But she's spelling realize with an S and not a Z. and honor with the OU, the French spelling, instead of just OR. And it's stupid, but it's bothering the life out of me. But anyway, and that and the fact that me and Kindles just don't work. But I wanted to show you. You got to get one of these suckers. So I have no idea what it's called. I call it the doohickey. And that way you don't have to hold the pad. You can just read it this way. And it's taken me a while to figure out how to press the right stuff so that the page thing comes up. Because I like to know what page, if I'm taking notes, I want to know what page I'm talking about. So that's that. And so, let's see. She takes the thing and she's gonna make another time jump. Last time I landed in filthy back alley between King Street and Palm Mall at night, in the middle of a fight. This was much better, and no one was trying to kill me either. Instead, I landed on a large sofa in a bright, warm room into the arms of the Honorable James Franklin, Lucian's lovely brother. He's blond, but otherwise unmistakably a Franklin, about 25 and gay. Better being gay was not healthy in the 19th century England, where you were labeled with any number of offensive names and risked penalties ranging from death to the scaffold to hours in pillory, where you might get stoned to death if the crowd turned nasty. I'm exceedingly fond of James, and when his arms came around me, I held tight and kissed him. I just timed to register that his cheeks were damp when there was a roar from the doorway. What the hell is going on here? It was Luke. Cassandra? Yes, somewhat superfluous. I mean, how many 26-year-old females in leggings, trainers, and sloppy sneakers were there in Albany in 1807? Then I stopped being picky when he crashed to his knees in front of the sofa and yanked us both into his arms. And hugs went. It was a pretty good hug. You picked the right legal firm. Where are we now? The 11th of May, same year, just after breakfast. Are you all right? I am. What's wrong with James here? And James has just discovered that one of his friends, George Coates, has hung himself. So we need to investigate why George hung himself and if he did hang himself. So they go and they determine that, yes, she's a semi-police officer. She has a little expertise there. And yes, they determined that he did hang himself. But why did he hang himself? What was going on? So they go to talk to this other guy. And when they go to talk to this other guy has had his head bashed in. And we 100% believe that the murders are connected, that the doctor's murder is connected to Coates' murder. Talbot and Coates are your two victims. And we do an investigation of the ton, and we do an investigation of the office. And if you've read The Bastion Club with me and The Sinsters, The Black Cobra, the Buccaneers, I call it the Buccaneers, she calls it the Adventurers, I call it the Buccaneer Group, the Four Crooked, and a lot of the Barnaby books, we all talk about Whitehall. And that's where Gazelle used to work. So they get a lot involved in the intrigue there with the people that work in that office, and they talk about spying and stuff like that. And so they have to investigate what the connection between these two guys were. And, well, it turns out both of them were gay. And they both belong to some of the same stuff that James belongs to. And we get into that, and we delve into that society. And do a lot of investigations onto that. But the thing that I find, this would be easier if I had a physical book. That's my one irk about this whole thing. But let me see if I can get up here now, because so Cassie is engrossed in his house. They say she lives down the street at a house he's renting, but she has never even visited the house. If anybody were to question the servants as to what she looked like, they wouldn't know. There'd be no one there to say what she's never, to my knowledge, has never visited the house at all. So Luke, has 2 kids by his wife, but she's deceased, and they stay with his mother most times. And his mother comes to town, and Cassandra is in her robe and slippers, and she's having some tea and toast, or coffee and toast in the room. And Lucian's mother shows up, and she's in her robe. There's only one door exit, so she jumps over and hides behind the couch. So there's an entire conversation with Luke and his mom, with Cassie hiding behind the couch. And that just cracked me up 6 ways to Sunday. Breakfast, my lady. Garrick sounded perfectly calm. I rubbed the elbow I knocked on the way down, squinted out from my hiding place under the sofa, and saw his feet shifting around as he scanned the room. The pair of very elegant boots, half boots, I could see beneath the hem of a plum-colored shirt, showed that their wearer was facing away from him towards the shrouded incident boards. Thank you, Garrett. Toast would be welcome, and tea. I will take 'em in here. There was a faint, ladylike sniff. I can smell coffee. Yes, my lady. I came in here carrying my breakfast cup with me to check on the room before the girls started work. Would you like me to light the fire? Yes. Good thing I didn't climb up the chimney, she's thinking to herself. I saw Garrett's legs as he knelt in front of the hearth. The scrape of flint on the tinderbox he worked over for a minute, getting a blaze going, then began to stand, stumbled, and dropped a small log that rolled toward the sofa. Excuse me, my lady. He reached in front of my hiding place and reached under as though searching for the log. I pushed it into his hand and touched the back of his fingers with mine. So he knows I'm here. He knows I'm hiding under here. Given the high standards of housekeeping, I wasn't afraid of dust making me sneeze, and I had only 1 cup of coffee since I visited the loo, so I told myself there was no reason I couldn't lie here undetected for however long it took Luke to dislodge his mother. And then Luke comes in. Mama is the latest method of approaching the solving of crime. Luke, thank goodness, because she sees the murder board. And in Julie McQuain's book, they have one too. She gets I think it's a chalkboard. It might be a chalkboard or a whiteboard. I think it's a chalkboard. But they put them in all the rooms for her to take her notes, schoolroom to take her notes with. And so they have their own board and they're writing the notes in the papers, and her mother sees this. And she learns that they're investigating this stuff. And so she says, she gets into, and what about this young woman you have acquired from somewhere? I've had letters from at least 6 acquaintances mentioning her. America, is it? And supposed to be a distant cousin. Really, Lucian? I know the Franklin tree as well as you, and probably better. The legitimate side, certainly. This connection is distant and tenuous, I agree. Radcliffe, really? Most men manage to keep a mistress without all the subterfuge. Cassandra is not my mistress. I'm certainly giving her a measure of financial support, but no more than I would any female connection under the circumstances. Don't ask him what the circumstances are. Cassie's thinking under the couch. 2 friends of James have died. Suicide with no apparent reason and murder. We were called to the suicide and found the second murder body. Does this put James in danger? Yes. Yes, it puts James in danger. It puts Cassie in danger. It puts Lady Radcliffe in danger. It puts a few of them in danger. So to find out what happened, you're going to just have to go read the book. But that chapter 16 just cracked me up 6 ways to Sunday. And the twisty turnies at the end you don't see coming. The one thing about this is that it needs to be charged. A physical book doesn't need to be charged, but it's holding my attention. It's making me want to read the next one. So but to find out what goes on, who the murderers are, if there's more than one murderer, if there's two murderers, who is shooting at them, because when they go out in the carriages, they get shot at. And his mother starts to really like Cassandra, but then of course Cassandra disappears again at the end of the book. She goes back to her own time. So we'll have to see what happens in the next book. But so far, they've solved two murders now. Maybe they'll gain a little bit of reputation somewhere. They've gained some friends. She's made some good friends. So do you think she's going to stay in the 2023, 2024? Or is she going to stay in 1807, have a relationship with Luke? I'm telling you, I like the fact. Now, unlike the other one, and a couple others I've read, this is the first one where she's sort of doing it the way I would do it, if I would do it. She's bringing her pills. She's bringing her monthly items. She's bringing Tylenol. She's bringing some modern day necessities with her. I would be bringing that and a whole lot more. But she's actually able to bring a little bit of a suitcase with her when she time jumps, which is Claire didn't do. Well, Claire used to sew stuff into her clothing, but this one is actually bringing a little bit of a purse with her that has stuff in it. I would bring, a lot more. I would raid that old medicine cabinet. I would raid the pharmacies. Take, all the different drugs, everything over the counter. I would take it with me. Gotta have my jeans, my sweaters, your modern day undergarments, sneakers. Don't care about those slipper thingies they used to wear in the past. You need shoes. You need really good shoes. You need modern day shoes. But I like the fact that she's bringing stuff with her. That's one good point. So what do you think of this book? You'll have to let me know. I hope it's turning out to be a good series. I've got like a whole list of 30 that I'm going through that I will do an if then in the coming weeks to list all the different books, ones I've read and ones I'm going to read or hoping to read, see what happens. I hope you have a good day. Bye.